And the recording started. We are in session 18.
Did I fill in the wrong section? No, I think I'm good. Column 19, right? Or sorry, row 19, I should say. The activity log.
Yeah, column 19.
Yes. Oh, right, because I didn't make that a... Yeah, column 19. We had a session 0.
Got it.
But also, I used the first column... I don't think we did anything in session 0, so the first column is where the names are.
Gotcha.
I should just make column A a stick. No, I'll figure it out later. Okay, so for tonight, we shall begin with a retelling of the previous session, so everyone can get their experience, and also, some of you guys have some school stuff that you'll want to clear up with the characters that were not in the adventure. So let's do the retellings first.
All right. L. Ross, since we were doing more, trying to figure out more stuff about how to actually get this through, went back to the school and to learn more stuff. And we, through my mentor, Cam, we were able to find a lich that will be able to help us figure out more stuff. And we're going to go see him in the morning to find out more information. As well as we've met with Pavlov, the goblin who's going to make us more knockout potions. Because apparently we also found out that when we went into the area where we found where the troll might be, the not troll might be, we found actual troll tracks there.
That is correct. Have a character point.
So Reggie went on an adventure down in the sewers with some trepidation and resistance, but had a good time down in the sewers, saw some cool stuff, and then was mostly there to just try to dissuade people from going after the troll.
Very good. Have your character point.
Nest went with the group get into the sewers, but also got the Pava to go and find a druid expert who might be able to help with fixing sappers. That's part of their adventure, and thinks that going after the troll is a great idea, but conveniently thinks they have better things to do today.
Excellent. Have your character point.
I'll jump in. Francis was helping with researching the sewer, trying to understand kind of the layout there, and also tried to help Elros with investigating the troll effigy, but failed.
Right on. Go ahead and take your character point.
Similarly, Trumpy contributed to the research efforts and basically made a diagram using overlaying maps to try and find out discrepancies within the sewer structure, and also made a very simple diagram of an ice cream machine.
Which Pavan understood perfectly. Have your character point. There will certainly be consequences for that.
Oh god, fuck. Goblin ice cream.
Lactic product is extremely important to their culture, so I'm sure it will be revolutionary. And Troy, I think you're the last one.
I honestly don't remember anything from last time.
Well, your teammates have given you a pretty good summary. After doing a bunch of research and figuring out some resources that can be brought in from outside of Celebre to help with this issue, the party then did some scouting in the sewers, found a piece of an older section of Celebre that had poked through during the sewers construction. And so there was basically the top of a church steeple in the floor of one of the sewers. They were able to climb into where the bell used to be and climb down and explore a lower level beneath the city, where they encountered, some stuff. There was another well, an older well, that led even deeper down that they did not explore, because in the remnants of an old bank, they found what they're calling a troll effigy. They found basically a humanoid shape that had been assembled out of random bits of city. Bricks and shingles and pieces of broken glass. And its feet and hands were the amber orbs with the troll feet and hands that the wood troll had been protecting all those many days ago when you guys were adventuring out in the farmlands to the south. For your efforts, you can go ahead and have a character point as well. Alrighty, I see in the logs here that there were at least one person at the Crimson Academy. I think it's Bax. Is that the only one?
Yeah. Do I get an experience point in school for both my non-mystic characters?
Any character that was going to school, so that instead of adventuring, gets either an experience point, or depending on the school, they can choose to forego the experience point in exchange for a gold coin. So you can either go there to learn or go there to work.
Going to learn.
Yeah. Crimson Academy is only learning. They have one job, and that is to make good soldiers. But I think you probably need to roll some dice on that. So go ahead and work that out. While you're doing that, I see a bunch of people also went to SAU. Did anyone need to make any rolls to unlock any classes there? Or were all of you just studying in the library?
I need to confirm that. I'm just checking to see if I'm able to actually learn anything.
You get your experience point no matter what, but there are, the different classes can do different things, teach different stuff. So if there's any tests you need to pass in order to qualify for more advanced classes, you can go ahead and make those tests.
I'm going to take my merit tests.
Okay, go ahead.
There's 3 fitness merit tests, right?
Yes, yeah.
I'm probably going to focus on stacking fitness tokens for fitness merits for now. First one is vigor and labor.
I can bring it up. Let's see.
I've got it too. I just have not enough monitors, I guess, to see everything.
The sheer number of tabs I end up having on my left-hand monitor is always amazing.
Can I argue Gunther costume pips?
Yes.
Wonderful.
But you have to declare with great ferocity that you are a great hero.
Oh yeah, Bax has got a lot of practice with that. I've got 4 successes for my first fitness test.
Yeah, I think the threshold was 3, so that would be a pass there.
Another pass.
That's more like what I expected from Pax. First day definitely was a shock to the system, but now Bax is getting into the routine of exercise.
Didn't get that one.
Yeah, didn't quite make it on that last one, but that's still...
I've earned 2 fitness merits.
As you now have stockpiled a pretty fair amount to start doing training in something more specific if you wish. Or Bax might want to come on today's adventure. Who knows?
I'm going with Trompy to stick with Wompy.
Okay.
So we get advantage on our rolls that we perform together. And also because Trompy has exploration and survival.
Did anyone else have anything they wanted to take care of for schooling before we move on to today's session?
Did we already do the oak brine rolls?
Oh, yes. Is anybody... Let's see. The Shari is working on Little Oak Brine. Zara is working on Little Oak Brine. And that's it. So Shari and Zara can make their tests to see if they're contributing. Let me add the 10 points that the carpenter and the smith add to it.
Is that
labor roll?
Yeah, it's
I have the
vigor
same
plus
question.
labor is the roll.
Yeah, we're almost a third of the way there. We're currently at 31 out of 100.
And it's still at less than half, so characters that make this roll can also make a resource check to see if they dig up any treasure from the rubble that they're clearing out. Alright, so that's another 3 successes, so we're at 34 out of 100.
I got 1 success on my rubble.
You got 1 success, so you have found a precious gem. And another precious gem. Very good.
rebuilding done, Glup is still trying to get into the wolf den.
All right. What is your roll that you're going to make to try and get in?
Well, I already know the location of the place.
Yep. But the last time you went there, the guy at the door asked you some questions and then basically said that you didn't pass his test. He suggested that you join up with the Fox Clan. The Fox Den focuses on wealth acquisition.
I think I'm just going to let myself in with the little pick lock.
You're going to try and break into the building?
Yes, with crime and agility.
Okay. You will have a lower target number if you use engineering instead of crime, but it's up to you.
Sadly, I do not have any engineering stuff right now.
Crime it is.
Do Oakbrine rebuilders gain any XP?
No. But there is something... I think you get paid pocket money as well. Let's see, where did I write it? Here. Yeah. So you're paid 1 pocket money, and you get the chance to roll for the treasure.
Are we doing any experience for the private tutor stuff?
Yes, your private tutors will give you an experience point if you're working with them.
Okay.
And in particular, the secret shipyard has some techniques to teach that are not available elsewhere at the moment.
And then my dice are a little bit hot. 6 successes.
All right. Yeah, you have successfully broken in. No one's seen you at the moment. If you want to snoop around and figure out what they're about before you reveal yourself, then you'll need to make a stealth check.
Sure.
Okay. You're pretty sure that you have stealthed, but as you find out a few minutes later, when someone's watching you, they were just better at stealthing than you and been following you around. But during the approximately 2 minutes for your 2 successes, you do find out that they are not about stealing. This is a thief clan or thief den that is specifically about foreign relations. They infiltrate other countries to perform spy activities such as stealing information and assassinations. The reason that they probably did not want you is because you were interested in money, and they don't do that here. They are strictly serving the interests of Celebre, and if you're loyal to money, you're not... That creates a conflict of interest. You could be bribed. They don't want people who could be bribed.
Or fame, because they don't really...
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't get any money or reputation.
Most of their agents spend their lives effectively invisible. No one ever finds out who they are. They never accrue any notable wealth. They do their job and the city stays safe, and no one is ever the wiser as to what happened.
Sounds like my cup of tea. Yeah, like I guess I'll make it look like I was yeah. This definitely looks like a good place.
So once you're caught, they are impressed that you broke in. They recognize you. They know exactly who you are. And so they sit you down and say, you have the skills, but it's all about the drive. If you're not loyal to the city, you have no place here. Where do your loyalties lie, little frog? This is a selfless place. If you join us, you're giving up on wealth. You're giving up on fame. We'll train you, but if those are things you value, wealth and fame, you will not find happiness here. Only darkness. And we're very good at darkness.
The only reason I was caring about wealth is because it's the only one of the only ways without sneaking out through the shadows of like getting away anywhere in this world. But if I can learn another way to be able to do things through this world, then I do not need to have to worry about money or anything.
Very well, little frog. We will train you, and if you prove to be worthy, then perhaps someday you'll actually do missions for us. This den is the only den that cannot you can't work for them for money. Basically, the Thieves Guild money clause in the description for the guild does not apply here. But they can train you in some pretty awesome stuff. So go ahead and browse the list, and we'll add your name to that Thieves Den.
Yeah, I saw some great things like Scapegoat.
Yeah, they've got some really good stuff.
This is kind of like the sacrifice my life in service to the city kind of people. Yeah.
These are the people who are expected to take suicide pills if they get captured, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does not being a citizen of Celebre affect us at all or anything?
You are considered a citizen of Celebre because you are a child under the care of a Celebran orphanage.
Oh, okay.
They don't really care about your origin. Like, you're here now, and you're part of the Celebran economy. That's all that matters. Now, if you start acting against the city's interests, then they will turn against you immediately. But yeah, that's a separate issue.
Yeah, I'm not looking to cook anytime soon.
So I think that's it. That takes care of SAU, Little Oak Brine, Crimson Academy. Anybody working at the other schools or for private tutors, you can spend your experience points and such. Which brings us to tonight's adventure. So, because of what you guys did the previous day, today some adults are going to gather and go down into the sewers and hunt for the troll. Before they do, they're going to show up at the orphanage to get Miss Maybell's staff, Sappers. And they're probably going to cast a bunch of spells on the staff to figure out what's going on, and then do something. It's not clear what they're going to do because they're adults and you haven't spoken to them yet, but they're on their way. So, what party do you guys want to gather, and do you want to pursue these adults and try to alter their outcome in some way, or do you guys want to go do something else and just let it happen as it happens?
Wallopy, regardless of what we decide, will basically do the equivalent of nest tying themselves to a troll and refuse to part with the staff unless Wallopy gets to go along. So, if my understanding is that if that's our intention, Wallopy is going to be as stubborn as Wallopy can be.
Yeah, we could also go before they come there. We could take the staff and run before.
And they have to track us down? I like that idea.
They had been quite friendly with you. Most of them were, here to help, basically. But they are adults, and they're not going to let children go face a troll on their own, or at all. So...
I will be right back.
So yeah, if you guys want to run and try and find the troll on your own before the adults can. But remember, the adults are the ones who will know how to manipulate the spirit of Sappers.
I think I lost the detail somewhere. So, are these adults coming because, so many questions had been asked?
Because they were specifically asked to come. So
they were asked to help.
Yeah,
and they've interpreted that as okay.
Take care of it
the
for
children
the children.
Want us to do something.
Yeah. So somebody asked Cam to go and find a relevant teacher. None of the teachers in the university had sufficient expertise, but he reached out to some contacts in Anar, and a human lich with 10,000 years of expertise in exactly this kind of magic is on their way. Additionally, somebody else had a lovely conversation with Pavin and convinced Pavin to use his diplomatic powers on the moon to get an Inuit high priest to come as well, which is somebody who directly worships a far realm creature who is responsible for casting the spell that puts Sappers in the staff to begin with. So basically the two top experts in the world that could possibly be handling this are on their way. But they're adults, and they're not going to put children in danger.
Wow, the meta on this one is rough.
What's that?
I said the meta on this one is rough. I don't want the kids to help.
It seems like a deeply irresponsible thing, right? Now, the flip side is, if you guys do go, the sheriff has been roped into basically being your chaperone. And the sheriff has agreed that he'll go along with whatever the mages say is the correct course of action. Because he's definitely out of his depth.
I guess we need to have the adults, because the adults actually know how to perform this.
We need the adults, but we need to force the adults into allowing us to be there.
I might be able to get some leeway with both Cam and the sheriff, and because a lot of us are magic users, so this might be a good learning opportunity as well.
All right, then. Let's get a sort of rundown of who's bringing which character into this. And since Ed is AFK, we'll start on the other side of my spreadsheet with Vivian.
This is definitely Whoppy's deal.
Okay.
I thought about bringing Nest and Whoppy together again, but I really want Nest to be able to go to school.
That makes sense.
If we're going down to the deal with the trolls, then Mari will go.
That definitely increases the magic user list.
Elros is going, and he has connection with both Cam and the sheriff, so.
I would like to bring Zara and Francis, if possible.
Totally possible. That's absolutely allowed.
Got to keep the triplets together.
Yeah, the downside is that by not being in school, one of them is missing out on an experience point, but I think this is a very valuable thing for both of them.
And they can argue character points as well.
Yeah, they can share the character points between them, or the experience points. Sorry, you can split the character point you earn and divide the experience points between them however you want. But in particular, Zara has the spell that enables tracking of the troll. And Francis will probably want to meet the Lich.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's necro time.
There probably isn't anyone else on the planet more qualified to teach necromancy and alienism.
It'd be cool if we like randomly at the end of his whole arc we got a renown point and just earn the renown point to get him at the Lich as your mentor.
Unfortunately, I have to put a GM block on the Lich as a mentor. The Lich has a vastly larger scope of things that they're dealing with. They're more of a cameo. Alright, so with the party thus selected, I think. Right? Yeah, Troy's bringing Mina.
Yeah, my understanding was there's either way it's her turn in the rotation, but there also should be explosive shit.
Right, the gas that the stuff we're using to knock out the troll.
Yeah, if that's fragile or anything, then Mina offers to carry it.
Yeah, we're getting gas. We're also getting other stronger gas grenades from Pavan before we go.
Pavan already prepared those for you.
We have them.
Oh, he said he was going to make some more because we found out there was like the actual troll's going to be there. Because I asked him at that if they could make some during the night for us.
Oh yeah. Okay, so you're right. He's got some differently mixed ones. So you've got your originals for dealing with the wood troll, and he's got a separate set for dealing with if you encounter any mountain trolls.
But Pavan is probably on team adults, I imagine.
Yes, although the body Pavan resides in is only I think 10 or 15 years old. Pavan himself is like a 300-year-old goblin consciousness that just was brewed into a younger body for the purposes of attending Celebran University to study magic.
Do goblins like have an understanding of other cultures, like children versus adults? Like, would they care?
Not really.
The goblins don't care. But
super vaguely.
Yeah.
Pavin being a diplomat, I imagine, has some concept of the idea.
Yeah, Pavin, if Pavin's a diplomatic goblin, then he went through the goblin training that explains that genders exist, species exist. Most species have to grow up, and that death is a big deal for non-goblins.
And the fact that Pavin is in a child's body is probably a misunderstanding of some of that, because they wanted Pavin to attend school, and school is for children, but learning magic is not, so he didn't need to be in a child's body, or a child-sized body, actually. They scaled the body to it. Yeah, it's part of their not having a full understanding of it that caused that to begin with.
For a long time,
you know, 10, 20 years from now, there'll be goblins out there that have racial memory of how to do magic.
Yeah. I also love that. I guess that means he just assumes that any of the big adults at the school are just teachers or something, so he's trying to like talk to a teacher that's actually a student.
I mean, for a long time, goblins thought that dwarves and gnomes, and you could be forgiven for mistaking dwarves and gnomes to be just different variants of the same species, but they also thought that like humans were just a variant of that species, and that they knew goats were different, but then like horses, they're just not too sure about. Maybe it's a kind of dwarf, like they don't really know. The death thing is the biggest cultural difference. They took them, like a lot of goblin diplomats go through a while before they realize why people are sad when things die. They're just like, yeah, the guy died, just put him in the pot. He'll be fine.
Alrighty, if nothing else is going to be done in preparation, then we'll start with the adults arriving.
I guess the question is, do we want to make the adults track us down? Because only Whompy and Miss Mabel know where the staff was to be placed. Because you had me putting the Sappers in, like, a park/garden area that was not at the orphanage.
For outings, basically. It's like taking your dog to the park. Obviously, you bring Sapper back at the end of the day, but you're just letting him...
I did not realize that. I thought that Whompy was going to...
No, they're just little day visits so that Sappers can sort of meditate and grow roots in different soils around the city before coming back to the...
All right.
Yeah.
Have you been leaving Sappers outside all by himself?
I had thought that's what we were doing. I heard spread roots, and I took that as take root.
Have you spent any experience points leveling up your esoteric discipline?
I have.
Okay. So you may roll that whenever you wish to try to communicate with Sappers while you're holding it.
Awesome.
Whether or not Sappers does as you ask will be a mixture of the results of your roll and what it is you're asking.
Alright, well...
Do the adults...
Whompy's inclination is to just con the adults into, like, the children come along.
Do they know where to... Sorry, my push-to-talk is acting super weird.
We can hear you.
Do they know where to go? Like, do they have that information, or do only we have that information? So it seems like we can give them whatever they need, and then we can just go to where we need to go.
Give them the old rope-a-dope. Give them the old rope-a-dope.
Well, we'll get there first because we know where to go, but they'll have the stuff that's needed, and then we'll prepare. But
here's the crazy part. Technically, only Zara has the ability to know where to go. Now, you all know where the troll's lair is, but Zara can cast a spell on the staff that will give a direct magnetic needle to where the troll literally is at any given moment.
Does it actually make the staff point at it? Is that what that, like, something...
That's up to Kristen, actually. I don't know how visually the spell indicates to you what direction. If it's just a feeling in your head, or if it has, like, draws a beam of light. Does it turn some piece of equipment in a direction?
So, I think since Zara also has, like, those disturbing visions, I feel like she's kind of tapping into that. That kind of makes sense for her. So, like, it's kind of something that's in her head. I'm imagining some sort of, like, mystical compass type thing that's pointing, basically giving me the heading, I suppose. Like, that's the information that it gives.
Which means anyone who wants to find out where the troll is at this very moment would have to trust Zara to give the answer.
Now, I could also... I think that makes the most sense. I was going to add that maybe there could be some sort of light component, because she also learned the light spell, and, like, that might make sense for there to be, like, a glowing light that kind of, like, points in a certain direction as well, so that others could see it.
Like, maybe you reverse engineered the light spell in order to create this new spell?
Ooh, actually, that's kind of a good idea. Like, where she's just doing it, like, as a courtesy to other people, like, oh, hey, like, this is where I'm translating what's in my head with light for the hell of it.
It's the magic equivalent of, can you call my phone for me? I lost it.
Exactly. Like, I'm too lazy to actually physically point somewhere, so I'm just gonna, like, cast some magic and stuff.
Can I make a crafting roll to so I have a quality 5 flute, and I would like to sonomancify it and add light to its properties.
There are a variety of workshops available. The Applied Thaumaturgy Guild has one, as does the Celebran Arcane University, both of which are capable of Daedic crafting.
And I'm in that class, so...
Would you like that to be of something that you did yesterday?
Sure, yeah.
So is it access to a quality V5 area, I think?
Yeah, the workshop actually gives you pips to your roll, too. It's a nice workshop.
And light's a tier 1 spell, right? So.
Here we go. Supervised crafting crafting workshop. It's 110. The test to enroll is to craft any mundane item, which you, I'm pretty sure did like 3 sessions ago. Yeah, because I got Mario already listed as passing enrollment. Skills training is artistry, crafting, and engineering, and for the crafting, once per day, attempt to craft an item using your own raw materials with the benefit of a quality 5 workshop. They also teach the first circle spell Mend.
Mend. Okay. What's the what would you say the successes are required to modify my flute to add a property to it of light or mend?
So that would be enchantment, I believe, right?
Yep.
So let me pull up the rules on enchantment.
I haven't yet revised those rules yet, so we'll see how it goes.
On any test to learn or invent a new property or fabricated datal item, they may narrate that one or more of their required components provide additional benefits to the attempt based on their quality and rarity. Mundane items give the bonus in pips, rare items in dice, and datal items in successes. Will you be using any special materials in this?
I don't have any special materials, but I have some money that I could use to get special materials if needed. The main material that I'm going to be doing, so from Sonomancy perspective, I'm effectively tuning my flute to that spell.
So, there is a character that has a piece of elemental ice. It's a piece of eternal ice from the elemental plane of ice that they dug up from the construction site near where the cold spot is. If you would like to ask them to make use of that in your crafting, you could use the fact that it is eternally cold as a way to perfectly tune and balance your instrument to not be affected by heat, so that your notes are always exact. Or alternatively, you could do what you just said and go spend some money.
Okay.
They believe it's Bax that has this eternal ice, and currently they are using it to chill their beverages after a hard day's work at the academy.
That seems much more important than what I'm doing.
You can also use that perpetual ice to make an ice cream machine.
Is it in the shape of one of those like spherical ice balls that they put in fancy whiskeys on the rocks?
It is not. It's actually in the shape of like a pine cone needle.
Oh.
But
Right,
a little bit thicker, but that basic shape.
I go locate a Q1 something or other. Oil or something.
If it's mundane, then you can.
I mean, I can.
Yeah, you can just
if
make a
it's
resource check for it. If it's magical, resource check is going to need some successes.
I mean, so I have a mundane flute, which is what I was
Yes.
going. Right, so I'll just use that. That's fine. I don't need anything else.
Okay, so you get 5 pips for the flute, 5 pips for the workshop.
And how many successes do I need?
If I remember right, you need twice as many as the wait, hold on.
It's the quality of the spell.
Yeah, because you need to give it the property to have a spell and then the spell itself.
Sounds like you're done. If you have 10 pips.
I'm gonna try and put both light and mend on it.
Okay.
Ah, yeah.
Okay.
Mend is a surprisingly useful spell.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So equipped. Wampy, I presume, clutching the staff tightly in preparation.
Can I make a roll to just have sappers follow my, or to like refuse to cooperate without me for my education?
You can make a roll to ask sappers to do that, yeah.
That's what I want to do. It's like, Wampy needs this for Wampy's education, sappers. Oh.
You have no idea how sappers feels about this, one way or the other.
It does make Wampy more on board with the shove the staff into the troll plan.
The first adult that's seen coming up the street from the high windows of the bedrooms is the sheriff. Not really a sheriff anymore, but Gorham is still ready for combat. So he's got his sword, he's got his bow, he's got on his good studded leathers, and he is carrying a sack that, from the things draped out of it, you think is probably the boots and general sewer garb that you guys gave him last time. Gorham knows what's up and is ready. Downstairs, you hear him making pleasantries with Miss Mabel. She's giving him some breakfast. Says, it's not going to be dangerous, right? She says, I'm going to take care of it, ma'am. Don't you worry. He is still showing her the respect that he showed out of a quasi-fear of her supposed mystical powers. Although he does comment that she's no longer wearing glasses. Says, do you need a new pair? What was that?
Mystical powers or not, I'd probably be still scared of Miss Mabel.
She is definitely not someone you want to play a card game against. The next set of adults that are coming are actually coming together. It's two entities in robes. One of them is clearly a human. The other one is human-shaped, but the head is just a floating skull. This is drawing some eyes and some comments from people on the streets, but the fact that he's just walking in broad daylight, having a casual conversation with another robed figure, it's one of those things where no one's really sure that they should do something about it. Like, they don't want to be rude, they don't want to be politically incorrect to the undead, but, you know, that is a lich walking down the street, right? Arriving at the front door, they're greeted by Miss Mabel, who welcomes them in. This is, she's not familiar with them, so she asks who they are. They introduce themselves. So the Lich introduces himself. I'm a researcher. I have not been in the city in a long time, certainly, I'm here on Cam's behalf to help. Cam has not arrived yet, but is expected, he says. And then the woman that's with him is an Inuit druid, or druidess. She is dressed in robes of white, purple, and green, and she also introduces herself. Looks around. Miss Mabel seems to recognize her, or at least recognize her outfit. And they do have a brief conversation about Pelladia, as this is somebody who knew Pelladia while Pelladia was still active in the world. At this point, Miss Mabel calls up for the kids to come down for breakfast. But before going down, you do see Cam running down the street with some books in his arm. The scene downstairs does not really look all that dissimilar from a normal morning of everyone having breakfast, having casual conversations, the adults sipping coffee and discussing world events. The only thing really that is strange is that one of them is a floating skull, with the rest of a body underneath it, but no actual neck, just the skull is floating there. The eyes are made of fire, but the fire sort of reaches up above the rim of the eye sockets to create little eyebrows, to create facial expressions.
This is amazing.
So one of them, the druid knew Pelladia?
Indeed I did, she says.
Oh, what was she like? Apparently, Miss Mabel made a school something similar to something that she made.
Pelladia would have been proud of what she's made here. she always did have quite a fondness for caring for those who have suffered unfortunate circumstance. Ah, and is this little Wampy? I have heard much about you.
Wampy, I would say, is eating their breakfast very fast and looks very cross. I'm Wampy.
Your missus tells me you aspire to be a druid one day.
Wampy is learning. Yes.
I hope that nature finds a way to open your heart to its mysteries.
That's why Wampy wants to help fix the staff. It's helping teach Wampy.
That is a noble desire, Wampy. May I see the staff?
No.
She actually smiles at that and says, and why not?
Wampy does not respond immediately to this, but will, after a moment, say, because Wampy thinks you will take the staff away.
Well, Wampy, I don't need to touch it. I just need to look at it. It can stay in your hands. Would that be okay?
Wampy, like, cocks their head a little bit, and says, only if you agree to let Wampy observe all.
She says, you can watch what I'm doing with the staff in your hands. Absolutely.
Including the rejoining of the staff.
She says, ah, I see. Well, I
Wampy,
don't
stay
know
out
yet.
of way.
I don't know yet if that's possible.
Wampy will go up to their room or go out. Where would the staff be? I feel like Wampy would have grabbed the staff very early.
I was assuming the staff is currently in your hands.
Oh, Wampy does not have the staff in their hands.
Oh, okay. Then wherever you've put it. It normally would be in the garden, but you've had plenty of time to
It
do
would normally be in the garden, but I think Wampy has been up since really early and has probably grabbed it already.
Okay.
So Wampy will retrieve the staff and
Alright.
bring it down to.
Holding out the staff, she looks at it. Her eyes turn purple, and it almost looks like there's kind of like a flashlight effect, like a volumetric cone of light coming out of her eyes as she looks at the staff. And then she blinks a couple times, the light disappears. She looks over at the Lich. The Lich does something that all of you who are familiar with the spell casting you guys have seen, you recognize the Lich just executes Delterra's toolkit like it's nothing. Like it's a casual action, as easy as waving his hand. And after executing that fairly complicated spell, looks at it in a similar way but with golden light instead of purple light. And then the two of them confer. She says, yeah, that's definitely his magic. And Lich says, it's consistent, it's clean, none of the little tangles, tendrils, and tentacles that we usually see from alienists. Says, well, what do you think? Says, I mean, I don't think it's a good idea to try to unbind it, but, you know, I'm not sure that mixing more of his magic into it's going to be a good idea either. We really need to take a look at the other piece. And she says, well, from what I saw, it doesn't look like anything that left the staff was part of my master's spell. And the Lich kind of takes another look at the staff, again, not touching it, just from across the room. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, no frayed edges. It looks perfectly clean and contained. I don't see any leaks. I don't see anything out of place. At this point, Cam arrives, out of breath and carrying some books, and says, I found something. Oh, you're here. And he sort of casually takes a coffee that Miss Mabel has ready for him, plops the books down on the table and says, I found the research notes. Spent all night looking. This is what he was researching before Pelladia put him into the staff. And he lays the books out on the table, and the Lich looks over them. The priestess looks over them too, but she clearly doesn't understand what they say. But the Lich does, and he goes, oh dear. They were trying that one. Alright. There is a chance that the elf that's in the staff tried to escape the staff into the wood troll. This moon monster's spells kept him locked in tight, but if a piece of him did get out, it would be consistent with the kinds of spells that we see him having experimented on humans with in the past. He says, it looks like from his notes here they had a problem. And Cam chimes in and is like, yeah, from what I read, it sounds like that they were trying to put human souls into other humans to extend their lifespan, but pieces of the original body's host would stay and corrupt the new spirit and kind of take back over the body over time. With new memories from the new person, but the old personalities. And so, yeah, the mage is like, yeah, this is really messy work, kind of sloppy. Souls shouldn't be broken up like that. But if this is what happened, I think I can rebind it. He does look over at the Inuit. He's like, I don't necessarily need you for that process, but if we're rebinding into the staff, I might need your help to loosen Inui's hold on it long enough to get the pieces in before you tighten it down again. And she nods. This would be your opportunity to interrupt them if you want to change the course of their plan to move the entity into the wood troll instead of the staff.
Alright, Whoppy will do that. Whoppy is okay. Can you move Sappers into the troll? And then Sappers can be... Is that possible?
The Lich says, it's possible. The consequences of that might be extensive. The troll itself is not a normal entity, so it might not have necessarily a personality that reemerges. But the Sappers that's in there may be prone to occasional bouts of mindless rage.
Reggie shrugs and says, sounds like a normal troll.
Yeah, well, it's already acting like a strange troll. It's like keeping a shrine of itself with its hands and feet in these weird orbs.
Delicious. What?
Yeah, cut off its hands and feet and put it into amber, and now it's got a little effigy of it.
That is strange. It must be something in the original mage emerging. Maybe some experiment that it was trying to do long ago. Are these all his notes? Cam says, everything I could find. Alright, I'm going to take a quick look through these. Give me a moment. He gathers all the books into kind of a pile around himself, says, everyone stay back for a second. And then you see a sort of silvery bubble appear around him, and he starts moving at a superhuman speed. Everything within the bubble is just, like, extremely rapid. One of the little candles from breakfast is, like, flickering and melting all down really fast. It looks like he spends, like, a couple days worth of time in a matter of seconds reading through all of the books. And then the bubble disappears, and he says, okay, so that is a little bit consistent with some of the stuff he was trying to do. It looks like maybe some fragment of him is trying to recreate an old experiment from a memory that he has that he doesn't know failed.
Right. Like, hello, Ross. We'll look over at Cameron. Like, well, since most of us are like in the Mage Academy, I was hoping to like see if we could come with you guys to watch this, because this is magic that has not been done that many times. So we are younger minds. We might be able to learn more. Maybe.
Walpy just says, Walpy goes.
So Miss Maybell and the Inuit priestess, pretty much in unison say absolutely not, and the Lich shrugs and goes, I don't see why not. The knots, by the way, are synchronized. So they all say the word not at the same time, but for different reasons. They kind of look at each other, and it looks like an adult argument is brewing. And Gorham says, I swore I'd keep him safe, and that's what I'll do. Lich kind of points over there. He's like, see? They got a bodyguard. What's the problem? And again, Miss Mabel and the Inuit priestess say in unison, they're children!
I mean, from the Lich's perspective, everyone at this table is a child.
Yeah. The Lich is like 10,500 years old or something?
Yeah, it's pretty old.
But we have
Okay.
every single expert in here that is able to help protect us. Like, if
Trompy and Francis allow it, Walpy will say again, Walpy goes, pick up the staff, grab the hands of the other two triplets, and walk out.
Miss Mabel,
All
you
right.
believed in us.
Miss Mabel is going to attempt to use a talent that I'm making up right now called using your full name. This is a definitely her persuasion and bluff going on here, but yeah. Wampy, Wamskini, Wambini, get back! I don't know. What is your character's full name?
Wampy's name is literally only Wampy.
Only Wampy.
Wampy does not have a last name.
She just says it very meaningfully then. Says, Wampy,
says it in
Trumpy,
all
and
caps.
Francis. Yeah. It's all caps. Her voice has reverb for no reason. Wampy, Trumpy, and Francis, get back here this instant.
Okay, for sure, I just want you to know, if there was a Constitution save, Trumpy's gonna fail it.
Can we roll something here?
Yeah, so Miss Mabel is about to make her roll against you.
Alright.
You can roll to challenge her, or you can just take it as attacks, or you can, yeah. Or you can obey her and not suffer any penalties.
While that's
Other
going
than
on,
your-
Francis is actually just kind of enamored with the Lich and is starting to kind of draw their attention over in that direction. Is Francis under fire by Mrs. Mabel?
Yes.
I said if you allow it. If you don't want to allow, if you want me to let you, it will just be Trompy. That Wampy grabbed the hand of.
Let's see. I can help with the roll. I was just not sure if I needed... Composure?
You guys are so lucky she doesn't have those glasses right now.
Are we just doing a composure roll?
Okay. That's...
The glasses would have been 10 pips instead of the 4 from her, basically the building. This is her building. She's using her authority as the matron to get her 4 pips.
Alright. I feel... So, this would definitely... I feel like we aren't at disadvantage, but we kind of are at disadvantage here. And that we stick together should apply.
You're only at a disadvantage if one of you is not willing to stick together.
Yeah, I'm here. So, it's composure, right?
If you want to disobey her. If you obey her, then there's no consequence. You just walk right back into the room again.
Oh. Francis might want to walk back in the room. I don't know.
I kind of...
Listen, character-wise, Trumpy would definitely not be able to withstand such a command.
But could the triplet individually, we might not be able to withstand the command, but could the triplets together withstand the command?
What do I need to roll for this shit?
Yeah.
If you can think of something that you would do to try to mitigate it, you can make a roll. Otherwise, what you're doing is looking for places to put the 8 tacks that would need to be divided amongst the 3 of you.
So Wampy is putting on a performance right now. Wampy is bluffing. Wampy is smart enough not to go and confront this troll on their own or with just the triplets. Yeah, Wampy has been all on board with this game, the adults, but Wampy wants to go along. So Wampy is bluffing. And Wampy wants to... This won't be able to mitigate all of it, but this might be able to mitigate some of it. Wampy, I want to do a cunning and performance roll to ignore as much of it as I can.
Alright, what is Wampy going to say?
Wampy's not going to say anything. Wampy is just going to, eyes front, holding on to everything, just push through as much as Wampy can. Wampy's made up their mind. Wampy is being stubborn, and Wampy, knowing that Wampy is bluffing, Wampy is going to walk out in the direction and make the adults chase them. Is what Wampy wants to accomplish here. So, again, I want this to be basically a performance of just physical performance.
Okay.
That whatever Miss Mabel has done has not worked.
You pretend that it doesn't impact you.
Alright.
Alright.
Pretend that you're not scared shitless.
You've dropped it down to 6. This is an area of effect attack, so it doesn't have to all go into the same stat, but...
Alright.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I can do here in this case.
If you obey Miss Mabel and come back into the room, then you completely negate all of the attacks against you, and you're fine.
But doesn't that mean that we stick together doesn't function?
Correct. But if you stick together, then you can split the attacks amongst yourselves.
Wampy can take on quite a bit of the tax. Wampy has the attributes to take on a lot of it.
So am I just rolling my things like resist and stuff, or?
It's not even a roll, you're just taxing your resist.
Yeah.
Or,
I see.
Or your composure. It would be like one of the easier ones to do.
I have... Wampy can actually absorb all of the tax. It is a bit oppressive, but...
I don't know. I only have a composure of 2. Across resist, avoid, and notice, I only have 3 points total.
Alright.
Turns out disobeying Miss Mabel is the final boss.
I cannot withstand anything. If we fail this roll,
Wampy
it's not
is
possible.
going to tax their resist avoid air composure.
I want to remind you
and
that
take
we're.
all of the tax.
I want to remind you that we're going to go face a troll, presumably. Very
Wampy knows that they're not facing the troll. Wampy knows the adults are coming. Trompy does not, but Wampy has Trompy's hand, and Wampy is going to take all of the tax.
All right,
Wampy is able to take all this tax, actually.
Meanwhile, Francis is just staring at the Lich and just wandering back in that direction.
Oh no!
Wait, I thought you were. I
wait,
okay.
I am taking all the tax, so that doesn't matter. Okay.
Okay, sorry. That's what I thought was going on. Okay.
You're welcome to come with or without now, because Wampy can take all this tax.
Yeah, I'll continue what I was doing. So, Francis kind of just, after seeing what the Lich has been is capable of, just in the first 10 minutes of meeting them, just wants to be all around.
Sorry, Trumpy's too much of a little weenie. Trumpy cannot
I just want you
withstand.
to know that all of that tax has brought Wampy just down to Trompy's level.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. I cannot actually withstand it. With burning red ears, Trumpy tucks their tail between their legs and walks back in.
Yeah, Francis has a composure of 2, so I was like, I'm not in a good state for this.
I knew I spent those points in my aptitudes for a reason.
For real. I'm just a baby. Chompy's lip is just quivering, looking at Wampy, feeling like they definitely couldn't withstand the scolding of Miss Mabel, but are also terribly sad that they let down Wampy.
As you walk away, there's a kind of silence of disbelief, and then those who remained hear Miss Mabel say in a very, very low tone of voice, "Gorham, if he comes back with so much as a splinter, I will plant your balls in my garden." Gorham gets up, says, "Yes, miss," and immediately heads out after Wampy.
Jesus.
Mario get up and says, "I'll go watch his balls," and then.
The Lich says, "Well, I think that settled it."
Yeah, and also look over at Miss Mabel. Well, Miss Mabel, if you believe in us as much as you do, then we will come back unharmed.
She says, "I know. And I know that the troll is part of Sapper's, but it's getting complicated here in the city, and I can't do my usual magics."
Yeah. Hopefully, it will turn out as great as those. However, Abbott, her students, her orphans, will turn out. Well, it's someone as good as you. Obviously, will be twice as good as her students.
The Lich says, "Honestly, I don't think any of you are really in any mortal danger, but I promise you'll be safe."
Do you promise that on your life?
How many of them?
I forget. Are elves as immortal as?
No. Elves only live for about 1,000 years. This guy's older than 10 elves combined.
Okay, I can't remember if we were like, yeah, what the elf lifespan was.
Elves technically don't die naturally, but they burn out. So, like genetically, they don't age, but they burn up eventually.
The most common thing I think that's been said is like, we're usually like, "How old's your elf?" It's like 100. It's like, so you're like a kid.
A little baby.
A little baby elf, 100 years old. It's cute.
An elf that doesn't take care of their tangle will burn out in like 500 to 600 years. An elf that has good etheric hygiene to take care of their tangle can make it probably about 1,000 before the build-up eventually gets to be too much.
Golbatur lived to 1,500. He's one of the oldest.
He was also a badass of the highest caliber.
Was somewhat of a badass. And there are elves with genetic deficiencies that don't have a tangle or have a weird tangle, which live longer, but also they either live longer or live less. It really depends on what the deficiency is. But ultimately, the tangle kills them.
Alrighty, so out on the street, the adults are starting to catch up. Those children who are going to be going with can. The Lich does pause with Zara and say, "I understand you know a spell that will be helpful for tracking. Can you teach it to me?"
Of course. But I'm not sure how to teach it to you.
Ah, okay. We can have a discussion about that when we're done. For now, then, can you cast the spell for me?
All right. In order to do that, do I need to make a roll?
Unless you have memorization, but if you haven't had a chance to save up for that yet, then yes, you'll be making a roll. You'll also need permission from Wampy to touch the staff, so you're gonna have to go outside with everybody and be part of that.
All right, so I was going to grab the Lich's hand, but I don't think that's going to be appropriate here, since they don't seem to have...
I mean, it's a skeletal hand, but it exists. It's not dirty or anything. Like, the Lich is... he's not a rotting corpse. He's a very well-maintained and clean skeleton, wearing wizardly robes.
Oh, cool. Okay. In that case, I'll grab his hand and just say, "Hey, we got to go outside to the staff. I need to touch it in order to cast the spell."
Says, of course. Meanwhile, out on the street, Gorham does eventually catch up with you, Wampy. Says,
Wampy has hammer drawn in one hand, staff in the other.
Gorham holds up his hand and says, "I'm sworn not to hurt you, or let you get hurt." You're not sure if he's afraid of you or afraid of Miss Mabel, but he's definitely afraid.
Wampy laughs and goes, "Wampy not going to get hurt. Wampy knew adults would follow."
Look, alright, just, if it goes bad, just get behind me, alright? Okay,
Wampy understands.
The magely ones are catching up with us. Let's let them do their thing.
Wampy shrugs. Wampy got what Wampy wanted, so...
Gorham's not sure really what that means or what this is all about. But it's okay.
Wampy has completely switched her to be very agreeable and helpful now.
Alright, so the Lich, the Inuit, and Camba's coming with you guys this time too. They all gather together with all of the kids that are coming. And I say, "Alright, Zara, please do your thing. Let us know where the troll is."
All right, and so can I combine any of my aptitudes with my potential?
If you're under advantage, you can combine your potential with a regular roll.
But that would not be what casting a spell is.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to cast the spell. Do I just roll the one potential die?
Yes. And since this is a first circle spell, you only need one success. Okay.
Well,
So the Lich watched you cast it, and after you're finished, you see there's like a yellow golden glow in the Lich's eye, and the Lich says, "Ah, I see. I think you meant to do it like this." And then you see him copy the spell, but without the error, and cast the spell.
hell yeah.
Says, I'll show you how you can make those distinctions later. And so the Lich is now looking at your spell, having cast it. He goes, your interface is very strange to me. I'm not sure what this information means. Because you would cast the spell to interact with your future sight, right?
I think I use... Well, I have Arcane as well, but I don't know.
Oh, well, you had
I
been
guess
talking earlier about having the way it shows you the information be connecting to your future sight?
Oh, yeah, that is true. Then, yeah, let's go with the future.
Okay, so the Lich says, yeah, it's trying to put information in my head, but it's not going to a place that's useful, so I'm not sure how to interpret this information. We're going to need to rearrange the spell a little bit. He starts scratching some stuff in the dirt. Let's see. All of you who are studying magic can kind of glean a little bit of information off of what he's doing. He is doing some math, some pretty high-level math on how to rearrange the energy that the spell is using so as to display something visually using an illusion. So all of you will be able to learn this new spell. So we'll know while it will still have Zara's name on it, this new version of the spell will be available for all of you to learn at the end of this session. But yeah, with the new version that the mage casts, it's no longer specific to your future sight, and now it creates a glowing orb in his hand that has basically, it's like a compass needle in 3D. So it can rotate around. And the compass needle points itself down and at an angle. It says, all right, we have our heading. Gorham leads you guys back to where the sewer entrance is. And you head down. And once again, you guys end up going back down through the church steeple to that lower layer. And the Lich looks surprised. He's like reading the inscriptions. He understands them. I haven't seen this in 10,000 years.
Oh, you understand it? I wrote some of it down. What is this area? Tell me it's not some kind of evil god church or something.
No. They had kicked their gods out long before. It was basically a house of charity. It was a place that filled some of the roles that churches used to fill, but in the absence of a god. They had managers that would make sure that people who came here that had need would be taken care of. I say people, it was elves. They were not friendly to humans at the time.
See.
I had to sneak around in the sewers, just like we're doing now. Oh, but the city, it was beautiful. Great waterfalls cascading down into the river below. This was before the flooding, of course. The rivers, or what was once the rivers, now all underwater.
We had gods?
The elves, a long time ago, they locked them up. Locked them in some magic artifact. Decided that they were more trouble than they were worth. In truth, he says, they did end up pursuing a lot of very positive things as a result of that. They began to value sharing of knowledge, and that was sort of the foundations of universities in this area. But yeah, at the time, humans were, depending on the elf you talk to, were either vermin or a very interesting science experiment.
Now it's all better, because there's a huge faction of elves that thinks that humans are vermin, and another huge faction of elves that thinks that humans are an interesting science experiment.
They're separate factions now. That's what's better about it.
And I guess you were scrapping on land at that time?
At the time, I was hunting alienists. Users of a particular type of magic that calls upon beasts and beings from far beyond the normal planes and realms of gods and elementals. They're extremely dangerous and always result in destruction. But they have a kind of temptation that makes mages that get involved with them think that they're getting much more than they are. Pacts with demons are one thing. You make a deal. The deal is never in your favor, but the details are all there on the contract. Pacts with the creatures from the far realm, there is no pact. There's this illusion that you're getting something, and then madness. You lose yourself in the research, and yeah. The result is destruction to all the things you know and care about.
Or I guess you get turned into a staff.
Yeah, often the destruction is at the mage's own hands.
Or you get turned into a giant lich skeleton thing.
Or you just become a pile of parts. It's very, very brutal, horrific, and random.
Yeah, Troy's got it. You show them the bag.
Yeah. Says I dabbled in it, and I was lucky that I realized what was going on, and I had a very good friend that helped me get out of it. And to this day, I wish I could have done more to repay him. Moving down the cavern and into that 45-degree slant area, you go into the slanted bank and find the effigy. The arrow is still pointing down, so the troll is somewhere below still, further down in the caverns. But they do get a chance to look at the effigy, and they have some comments of it. They do notice that they're actually, although it's really hard to tell in the dark, that there is some blood that's been spilled over the construction. The amber globes are still in place, but nothing really has happened. The Lich looks at it and says, "This is so sloppy. It's he was trying to make a new body, like an artificial one built from parts to install himself into. This is one of his projects that instead of installing what they were doing, so they were trying to put the souls of knights into the bodies of prisoners, figuring that the knights were gallant and worth keeping for longer than their allotted lifespan."
Anyone who's done any research into historical knights would know that's the furthest thing from the truth, also.
Yeah, none of it worked out the way they wanted it to, but one of his side projects from the notes Cam found for me was that to build artificial bodies, to construct them out of natural-ish materials and install the spirits into those. It's so close to necromancy that I'm amazed they didn't just try to make them into liches, really. I mean, it seems kind of silly. Any case, you can see the results here. No movement, no animation. Looks like the blood, he does some tests and he's like, yeah, This is mountain troll blood. He must have thought that would work for some reason. It's regenerative properties or something. This is very sloppy work. He contemplates for a moment and says, I suppose I can't blame him, though. It is only part of his mind doing the work. He's missing a lot of it.
And Wampy is pretty sure the rest of his mind is listening to you right now.
He looks over at Sam and goes, yes. Says, do better next time. And then he proceeds to look at the needle and say, I think this cavern is going to start taking us in the wrong direction. I think we need to find a way down further. Is there a way to get to a lower level?
There's a well.
Oh yeah, that'll do.
So, is rescuing this person a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know now.
The Inuit says, Inui's spell of binding bound him to a purpose as well as to the staff. While he's in the staff, Inui has enforced that he be the servant of the purposes that Peladia set forth for him. So, have those purposes changed him as a person over the century or so that he's been carried around? Or, what is it? Not even that. It's like 50 years? Over the half century that he's been carried around by first a druid and then a school teacher? If he is a changed man, then he's a changed man and will be a good person no matter what we put him in. But if not, Inui's power is cosmic. She is a sky druid, so she's going to use the word cosmic a lot.
I see.
Alright, so the Lich is looking at the well and is just like, I can float down. Does anybody else need help getting down? The well itself does not go straight down. It goes at a 45-degree angle, so that you might be able to slide down.
So, Wampy will look over the whole, like, the well and go, triplets will slide down.
Gorham says, oh no, I'm going down first. I'll catch you at the bottom. And he just kind of jumps in and slides.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait for the lich to like start floating down, and when he gets a little bit part way down, I'm gonna like jump down onto his shoulders.
Which of your characters is this?
Elros.
Okay.
Of course, the chaotic one.
So I think the triplets should like interlink, kind of like to create like a toboggan.
Oh, Wampy sounds confident. Wampy is shitting themselves. So Wampy is all on board with that.
Wait, did you say Wompy's shitting themselves?
Not literally, but figuratively.
Oh, well, yeah.
Oh.
Just like, you can go on the back of the toboggan.
We know that Elros is going after the Lich. Is anybody going to try and go before the Lich? Are you guys like rushing to it, or are you just letting the adults go down first?
I'm gonna let the adults go down. Choppy is scared.
Mari's following that strategy.
I'm waiting until the most pillows are down there.
Okay.
Most things to land on.
Smart choice.
Cam is basically taking up the rear in this situation, but yeah. So Elros, you're the first person to see that Gorham is badly injured in a corner of the cavern at the bottom. Looks like he took a huge hit in the chest, and also when thrown against the wall, hit his head against the back of the wall, and there's some blood there.
Jesus.
You're on the back of the Lich, and the Lich sees this, and immediately there's lights in the room. The Lich is just scanning left and right, looking for the threat. You hear some sounds down a tunnel, but you don't see anything in particular. And then other people start landing behind you.
Yeah, Elros is going to quickly jump off and go over to Gorm to make sure he's okay. And I'm going to yell up for magical healing.
Does Elros know any magical healing?
No, I don't, but I know there's a druid up there. And
oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, so the druid comes over and starts immediately calling upon Loon to heal this man, since Inui doesn't actually know. Oh, no, Inui does know healing magic. Yeah, okay. Are any of you... no, I guess none of you have really learned the toolkit spell. Alright, never mind.
We're babies. We're little babies.
Little babies. The druid does some healing magic. I guess the Lich would comment is like, that wasn't priestly magic. And she shrugs. Inui works in mysterious ways. Gorham sort of coughs up a little bit of blood and opens his eyes with a start. There's a troll! It takes him seconds. No, wait, not the one we're looking for. Another one. The rubbery kind.
A rubber troll?
A mountain troll. The made of flesh, not made of stone, though.
Yeah, we found tracks before. Are you okay?
He looks down at his chest wound, which is, as he looks at it closing, he goes, I guess I am. Thank you.
Elros will give him a concerned hug.
He tries to stand up and finds that he's not as okay as the magic might have made it appear, but he's at least not in mortal danger.
Mari says, you need to be more careful. My great uncle, he buried his balls in the backyard once, and when he got them back out to try and use them and sell them, they were all rusted, and so it took forever to clean them up, so you just need to be super careful.
It takes him a little while to process what you just said, and he goes, I will be careful, thank you.
She says, she shrugs and says, unless your balls are made of gold. If gold balls are okay, they don't rust, but my uncle's balls were steel. That's just not good to bury.
He chuckles at the idea of, balls of steel. That makes sense. Yes. Alright, here in the dark, there are multiple mages casting light spells. Did anyone want to join them?
I mean, I can.
Mara's gonna try.
I can cast a light spell.
Alright. So the Lich, Cam, and the Priestess all have cast light spells. Anyone else who wants to try can also roll for it. There you go. Light spell active.
Do I need to roll for it or just tax my item?
That is a good question. Is this you using... The item is built for it, right? This is not you using... So you're just taxing the item. Yeah.
Okay, so I just pull out my flute and I do a little whistle, and a little ball of light comes out of the end and then floats in the middle of it.
Right on.
What are our surroundings? We're just in
You're in
rubble?
a cave. This little cavern, this is sort of an open bubble of cavern at the bottom of the 45-degree angle slide that is the well-constructed well. But coming out of this cave are 5 different tunnels going in 5 different directions that are not nicely carved sewer construction. These are basically cracks in the earth. They don't even have really proper floors. It's going to be rough going to squeeze through any of them. Not because it's a tight fit, but because it's an awkward fit. The floor is not level, it's at weird angles. So finding purchase is going to be a little tricky. Your foot might get wedged into gaps and things that you need to pull it out of and make sure your shoe comes with it. Or in this case, you're tromping around boots from the sewers.
Yeah. Do we know which tunnel we need to go through, or do we need to get Zara to cast the spell again?
Well, the Lich looks at the compass, the magical compass from Zara's spell, says, all right, well, the troll we're looking for is that way, pointing it in a direction. And says, but there's clearly a troll that's not on this compass that's around here. So let's not split up, not try to flank it. Let's just move towards it, and if you see something coming at you, shout it out.
When the Lich goes to say shout out while he's going to like interrupt and go bonk it, it has the hammer drawn.
I'm wondering if we might be able to like suss out, like with using evidence around us, where the troll went. Like, so it injured someone. There was blood, presumably. Maybe there's a blood trail or some way we can at least discern where the bad troll went.
Yes, make an investigation check.
All right.
So how many of those, I don't know what we're calling them, grenades, do we have?
Well, let's make it, I'm gonna say 5 each. Five wood troll and 5 mountain troll.
All right.
Also, does Gorm the sheriff need help walking?
All right, Kristen, you have identified the direction that the mountain troll went in. It is not the direction that the other troll went into. It's off at like a 90-degree angle from the direction that the wood troll is in.
Awesome. I will let the adults know. So basically, I'll point down that way and say, "Hey, there's a trail leading this way." So I think that's where the wood, not the wood troll, the mountain troll went.
The adults confer for a moment, and they're like, "Is it worth pursuing?" Gorm says, "It's going to pursue us." Lich says, "I can take it in a one-on-one. I'm not worried about that." Gorm says, "Yeah, but if it flanks us when we're dealing with the other troll." Says, "It surprised me last time. I think I can take it in a one-on-one, though, if I've got one of the kids' grenades." The Lich says, "The kids have grenades?" And all of the adults turn and look at you guys.
Yeah, we got them from the diplomat. And I'm guessing Kite's character is gonna like pull open their vest and they're gonna be strapped with grenades.
It's very safe. They're all like meticulously padded and perfectly separated, and they can't touch each other or ding or anything. But I can also get rid of them very quickly.
Yeah, the Lich looks at all the younger adults from his perspective and is like, "You see the difference a sentry can make? Such creativity. You should strive to have that." Says, Gorm's like, can I borrow a couple of them anti-mountain troll grenades?
Someone be nice to this poor adult and let them protect us.
Who actually has the grenades? Like, what's our grenade inventory situation?
Is it not me that has all of the grenades?
I have all of them unless you want a scenario in which you could have them blow up on your person, I guess.
Yeah, because, what's her name? I keep getting Mari and Mina confused.
Mina.
Mina has explosives on board to prevent them from accidentally breaking if, for example, you fell or got smacked around by a troll.
If I've gone first or something. Down the slide. I mean, I don't see if no one protests to me giving him them, I will. But obviously, be careful with them. You're not as careful as I am. These could go off in your hands, and just hand him a couple.
He looks quite serious and says, "That's part of the plan. That thing tries to surprise me again. I'm gonna have a surprise for it."
Zara is very enticed by this. He plays as Randy Gearhand. So she's kind of over there holding out her hand as well. She's wondering if she can get a grenade. If we're handing out grenades, I'll take one. Was that your character, Troy, that has the grenade?
I mean, I guess you could take a grenade. Your risk is your choice.
I'll take it.
It's less for me to keep track of, and I rearrange everything so that it makes sense optimally on me for the remainder.
I'm paying attention to how you have them stored, and I'll store mine similarly.
Are any of the grenades with anyone other than Mina?
So I have, I guess, most of them, and now the sheriff has 2, and then who took it? Francis or?
Well,
Sorry.
Wampy was the one who was getting them from Pavan to begin with, so I wanted to know.
Nest was the one who got them.
Nested. Okay, never mind.
And would have given them to Mina because Nest
Mina knows how to
logically
handle them.
figures
Okay.
out that Mina knows what to do with them.
All right, cool. So Gorm is taking 2 of them and is bow and sword at the ready, and 1 grenade in hand. The other on his belt is heading down, following the trail that you found. Did anyone want to go with Gorham instead of with the Lich?
Elros will go with Gorm.
Okay.
Trumpy's going with the Lich.
Yeah,
Anyone who's
I'm
not
taking the
going with
rest.
Gorm, I presume, is going with the Lich.
Wampy is feeling the urge to go with Gore, but knows that they have a goal here today, and so we'll go with the Lich.
The Lich is going after the wood troll, right? Or not the wood
Yes.
troll, the mountain.
No, the Lich is going with the Mound Troll.
The Wood
Oh.
Troll.
Gorm is going for revenge.
Yeah, Gorm's
Got it.
going after the Mountain Troll. The Lich is going after the Wood Troll.
To clarify, the wood troll is the one with Sapper's in it.
Correct.
Piece of Sapper's.
All right. Yeah, Francis and Zara will go with.
You said Francis and Zara are going with Gorm?
The Lich? The Lich
the
is
Lich.
going after the wood
Yeah.
troll.
Everyone who's not going with Gorm is clearly going with the Lich. I just need to know who's going with Gorm.
Oh, got it. Yeah. Then mine are not going.
Okay, so it's just Elros? Cool. Alright, Elros, you proceed into the craggly opening with Gorham, and everybody else goes into a different craggly opening with the Lich.
One of the kids that has messed with him the most, which is great. Right? It was Elros that basically tortured the sheriff in a session.
Yeah, I got my trusty hand-rusted axe.
Alrighty. We're going to deal with you guys in just a moment. In the meantime, the rest of the party comes out of the cave into another slightly bigger cave, this one with an underground river running through the middle of it. And on the other side of the river, which does not have any obvious way of crossing, it's about 30 feet across and is flowing very rapidly, like dangerously rapidly. But on the other side of it, there is a wood troll arranging stones and looks like trying to carve out mathematical formula, but the shapes are nonsense. It's like it's going through motions but doesn't know what the numbers mean. Well, it says, well, here we are, and the troll turns at that sound, the sort of careless conversation, and it lets out sort of a low growl, but it does see the staff and makes a connection.
Does it feel like anything in Wapi's hand?
The staff feels warm, and not just physically, but there's like a magical warmth that your magical senses are picking up that wasn't there before. Yeah.
Wapi is going to very quietly, like, almost hiss. Staff's warming up.
The Lich looks at the situation and goes, it's definitely trying to become a mage again. It's just missing the pieces. Any other troll would have leaped across that river and attacked us by now. So, you know what? Kids, you know this creature better than we do. What do you think? Do we put the Do we put this elf into the body of this wood troll and see what happens? Or do we return it to the state he was in? The Lich kind of comments like, I mean, it's really hard to know if that's going to be an improvement. I just want to warn you guys.
The druid's here with us, right?
She is, yeah. She says that Inui is not about binding. The binding here was incidental. So we have no philosophical requirement to maintain the binding. But the binding is part of what was enabling this elf to live in this staff. So if we return it, we're returning it to its original bound instruction to serve the druids and be a good staff and I guess protect children or something. If we put it in that wood troll, it's its own creature again, which I have no philosophical issue with. I just am not entirely sure it's safe. But you know what? If it's not, we're going to have to destroy it. So that's something worth thinking about. Moral choice time.
This is actually like having to for me at least, I'm going to have to make like a big choice about where Wampy's morals lie here.
And you do have the rest of the party to consult here. There's no immediate danger, except to Elros, but we'll get back to that.
We're children. Don't we get moral resets every couple years?
I mean, Wampy could make the wrong decision, regret it, and grow from it, or have a strong moral choice. Like that's all on the table here. Definitely, at least a triplet powwow is happening. A full party powwow probably as well. But
Francis will go ahead and say, you know, the right thing to do would be to return the elf to the staff and let the wood troll free.
But the adults are definitely going to kill the wood troll if it's left to its own devices.
Well, if it becomes a threat to us, you know, we have no choice. That's just nature.
It's only a threat in the scenario that we've made it a threat at that point, though.
Zara perks up and is like, and we have nades!
Mina's input is we understand that the mage was not doing good things, and they're bound by doing good things within the staff. So the most positive outcome is them being in the staff. It's something great doing good things. The troll is irregardlessness, or what are the disregarded.
And it's the only thing that makes sense, because it was just like, how was she able to create a car?
Wampy, it's just say there. Like, this is the first time Wampy has been quiet and contemplative. When Wampy is not meditating. And like even after everybody is like done talking, like Wampy still hasn't said anything. And then Wampy says, Wampy would not like to be bound in a staff. And Wampy thinks that it's wrong to be bound by someone else. So Wampy thinks that Sapper should be free.
How do we set Sappers?
Wampy thinks Wampy wants Sappers to be given a body, if not, and to be able to make their own choice.
That's an interesting point. I wonder what Sappers... Maybe we can commune with Sappers.
Wampy thinks it's clear, but we'll try to commune with Sappers.
Alrighty, as Sappers grows warm in your hands, you can make use of Sappers as an item. Sappers is quality 10, so you're guaranteed to succeed on this.
So do you want me to roll or just say succeed?
So you touch Sappers' spirit, and you may ask it a question. I say a question because asking it this question is going to tax your supernatural thing, and you only have the one to tax. But I think, unless you have two.
I only have the one.
Yeah,
I didn't quite have enough for a
That's all right.
second.
But you can ask a question. and sappers will. This isn't like a genie trick. Sappers will do their very best because they want to communicate. They will do their very best to answer the question that you pose.
Don't ask it. What question can you ask?
Okay. So Whompy thinks that it's clear that Sappers wants to be free. So Whompy will ask Sappers, if this works and you're free, what do you want to do in a free body? In a more childlike way, but I'm trying to make sure that the question is clear to you.
Yeah.
Like, Whompy set Sapper's free. What will Sapper do?
Now, the answer that comes back isn't language. It's more of an idea that comes into your head through the staff. So it's not a specific set of words. What you have is you have this sort of veneer of, I'll be a good troll. I'll take care of you and teach you the ways of the forest and of nature. And that veneer is peeling away, burned by the truth that's under it, that's rising up to the surface. It says, I want to continue my research. I want to be the best mage I can be. And that truth rises past that veneer, that kind of lie of being a teacher to you. This actual mage doesn't know anything about druid magic. This mage knows science, and once reassembled will have its full faculties and will want to continue to do etheric magic science.
Alright. Whompy, presumably the only one who can hear this,
Yes.
looks at everybody and says, Sappers wants to be free to do good. And that's what they say. I don't know if you want me to make a roll for that.
Only if they disbelieve you.
Right. Because Whompy is lied.
I feel like the triplets might be able to detect whether Whompy is lying. I don't know if there's any tell.
I do agree that Trompy
I do think that you
would
would be able to detect that Whompy is lying. But I think
It's a
you'd also
matter
be
of if
able
we
to
want
detect
to,
that Whompy feels very strongly about the reason that Whompy is lying.
And this
And
is
that-
much more complex than a simple lie, because Whompy is giving up on having a tutor to teach Whompy nature magic in order to do what Whompy thinks is right.
There's a very specific reason that Whompy thinks that this is right. It has reason to do with the fact that they also want to study solipsism, although those are not entirely related. The reasoning is the same.
Yeah, so I think Francis, much like how we do when the adults catch us doing something wrong and we lie, Francis will stick together and go along with Whompy.
I imagine that the triplets have a little way of communicating with looks that Whompy is doing right now.
Yeah.
That only they understand.
All right, I'll fall in line. Triplet solidarity.
I love this stick together. This is really great. And I'm just, as a GM, everybody taking experience point, because the whole triplet stick together thing is really, really good story writing. And I'm just saying that to the party in general. Everybody can have an experience point for this scene. This is good. In fact,
Zara
actually,
will say-
I think I'm gonna make that not an experience point, but a renown because of all the famous people that are involved here and everything that's going on. I think this is going to end up giving a renown to this party.
Woohoo!
Yeah. All right. So at your request, the mage and the druid work together to push the rest of Sappers out of the staff. The staff becomes inert, and the troll begins compressing down. It's still made of wood, but it forms a wooden body that looks very much like an elf. It still has like bits of leaves and bark for hair, but it is otherwise an elf man. The lich conjures some clothes with a spell for it, and once robed up, it speaks. And leans down and says, "Thank you, Wampy. I will always remember what you have done for me."
Wampy nods and says,
We'll see if Wampy has a chance to say something. Just a moment.
Does Wampy not say anything?
Meanwhile, Elros, following behind Gorham, you guys come into a cave. Gorham has one of those handheld safety lanterns that you guys got for exploring the sewers. Do you have a light spell that you can cast?
I do not have a light spell currently.
Okay.
I can have one of the lanterns so they can make sure that Gorm has his hands free.
So you both have lanterns that are looking around. There are 3 pairs of eyes shining back from the shadows of the lantern. Gorham wastes no time running at them. They seem to confer with some grunts and noises with each other, and leap in 3 different directions. One of them has leapt down yet another tunnel to go deeper into the maze of tunnels. One of them is leaping at Gorham, and one of them is leaping to the side to flank Gorham. Gorham looks like he's readying the grenade to deal with the one that's coming straight at him, and may or may not see the one coming at the flank. These are mountain trolls. They're not as big as the forest troll, but they are very muscular, very dangerous, and very hard to hurt. And there's 3 of them in total. Only 2 of them are staying in the room, though. One of them is fleeing down a corridor. You can do something, or you can let Gorham do his thing.
Do what I do best. I'm going to like. It doesn't really have much. I'm going to toss my rusted hand axe at the one that's flanking just to distract it for a moment, so that Gorham can take care of the other one and not get flanked.
Okay, go ahead.
Guessing that's some kind of throw and dexterity. Agility and throwing. Just clings.
Yeah, it dodges it effortlessly, and now its attention is on you. Gorham throws the grenade that's in his hand at the troll, and it hits the troll. The troll is enveloped in a cloud of noxious stuff that Pavan had created. You can see some of it almost clawing into his nose, almost like it's alive. but its momentum carries it the rest of the way, and it crashes into Gorham, crushing and triggering the second grenade that was on Gorham's belt. The other troll stops its charge at you and backs away from the cloud, but looks like it's going to try and find a way to jump over it or somehow get around it. You do see there is a flicker of light and the sound of running water down one of the corridors that looks like you could flee down if you wanted to.
A sound of light and running water?
You hear the sound of running water and you see a flicker of light down a corridor that you have not yet explored.
I think I'm going to try my best to play a game, keep away from the thing to try to give Gorm time to get up because I don't want to leave him by himself.
Okay. Any time that you spend in the cloud of gas, you're going to take a composure damage from how bad it smells. But if the troll enters it, it'll be knocked unconscious. So if you want to go in and help Gorham get up, then yeah, go in and make a Vigor plus Labor check to try and drag him out.
Do I get any pips because he's my mentor and I'm trying to... We have way more of a bond?
You can get a bonus die for him being your mentor. He's not unconscious. He's trying to help himself up, after all. Alright, so you managed to drag him out. He's injured again, but not as badly this time. Looks like just some broken ribs. And possibly an injured foot, but you'll need to get him to a doctor to really see. He's definitely limping, though. He's looking to the same tunnel, the one that you saw the lights down, and he wants to make a break for it, but the other troll is out there somewhere in the cave outside of the smoke. He decides that he's going to make a bolt for it, grabbing you by the wrist, and he just starts running. You can hear behind you the troll make a shout, and as you sort of turn, you see it leaping up over the pool of mist and coming towards you guys. Would you like to do something while it's midair and can't dodge?
I haven't got to use this spell before, but I'm going to try to cast Blink. Help.
Okay. Aiming, I presume, further down the corridor?
Yeah. Only have one dice on this. Hopefully it works.
It works. Gorham's grip on your wrist is so tight that he ends up getting dragged along with you with your blink spell, as though he's an item in your inventory. Blink does not normally work that way, but in your panic, you've somehow done it. And the two of you stumble into the room right as Wampy was about to say something.
Wampy basically jumps in surprise. It's looks at Tappers, looks at Gorham and Elros. Looks at Tappers, looks at Gorham and Elros. And it's what?
Gorham turns around and gets his his shield up. He's got a little buckler. Gets that up just in time as a troll just full speed comes out of the tunnel, knocks into him, sending him flying across the room again. This time, though, he doesn't hit his head on the back of the wall. Lands in a mostly like ready position, but still sliding across the floor. And then when he comes to a stop, he falls over because his foot is injured. It almost looked badass.
It's still pretty badass to these kids.
It's at this point, however, that the troll sees that there is a floating skull over top of wizard's robes in front of it. And it has a pretty good idea what that means.
Does anyone speak troll?
I doubt it, but I mean, let me know.
I'm saying that
you guys have basically until the end of this combat round before the Lich incinerates this thing.
Mari probably speaks Trollish. The trolls might speak Trollish. She'll say something in Trollish.
Okay. What does she say?
She hadn't really thought this through, so she says in Trollish, "You're a troll," and that's it.
The troll kind of screeches to a stop when she says that, cocks its head for a second. The Lich, I guess, kind of looks, and he's like, yes, it's a troll. The number of languages this Lich speaks would shock most scholars.
Yeah, I was about to say, that means the Lich understood that.
Yep.
Trollish is like a local dialect for Troll Mountains folk. So, Haley spoke Trollish.
Well, looks like there's a gang of them here.
The troll isn't sure yet if its better move is to attack or run away, so it's kind of stuck. The Lich definitely has some sparks on his fingers, ready to go. He's just waiting to see if anything else happens.
Can anyone ask why it's here, or why its people are here? Because I think there's like 3, 4. I don't know how many are here.
Yeah.
Walpy will look to the Lich and go, Walpy thinks you should ask before fire.
Mari, I think, would be most likely to spot this. Can you go ahead and make a perception plus investigation? Or perception plus survival, either one. The troll is missing a finger on one of its hands.
Okay, I'll just call that out.
It looks at you like shouldn't have said that, but it doesn't actually say anything. It just gives you that look, and then it leaps in an aggressive posture. The Lich snaps his fingers and it bursts into flames. What falls to the ground is but ash and bone. But again, missing a finger.
Mari says, they're very far from home. Those trolls don't usually leave the mountains.
The Lich says, I'm not familiar with the local politics, but finger missing means it's not dead. That finger's somewhere regrowing right now.
Mari says, it'll take a long time, but yeah, it'll probably regrow.
Yeah, we encountered that one and 2 other ones. One of them ran away yelling, so I think it might be talking to others.
Reggie says there's alligators down here, so if with any luck, the alligators will eat it, and then it won't regenerate.
Francis goes over to the bottom, I guess the pile of bones, and basically tries to break off the forearm of the arm that has the missing finger, to take basically the forearm and the hand part of the bone.
Okay. The Lich gives you some pointers on how to separate the bones. It's like, the tendons are burned off, so you're going to have an easy time with this one, he begins, as he begins explaining to you how to properly harvest bones from a body.
I guess if there's any wood or like splintered wood around, I guess I'll go run over to Gorm and like try to like just rip some of my shirt to like make sort of a splinter for his leg. I don't really know how to do medicine. I just a piece still sticks on his leg and I wrap around stuff around it.
The druidess goes to help you. She's got some magic to do some curing and help you get the splint in place.
What happened to Sapper's staff?
Sapper's staff is still being held by Wampy. It is now inert, but it once held great power and could potentially be a potent daedal item if it is reactivated. It would no longer have a sentient spirit inside it, but that doesn't mean it isn't powerful.
So the chaos, can Wampy talk to Sappers without like people overhearing?
Yes.
Wampy is going to talk to Sappers and say, "You owe Wampy.
Wampy
believes you'll become that. Wampy thinks you'll become that great mage. But you owe Wampy, and Wampy will come calling." And that's all that Wampy says.
Sappers nods. Sappers does then comment to the rest of the group, says, I'm recovering some of my memories at the moment, but it seems like my rogue self, my partial self, encountered these trolls and was trying to use them as material components in an ill-conceived scheme to get myself out of this body and into a new one. In any case, there are more than one of them. I don't know where they came from. I just found them down here. But yeah, that's concerning and something that should be looked into for sure.
So are you still like owned by Miss Maybell or like?
No, I am my own man now.
Oh, Wampy wants to answer that actually. Wampy says, "Sappers is a free elf." Or, are you an elf? I don't know.
I was an elf. I am currently made of wood, but I still think of myself as an elf.
Good enough for Wampy.
I think wood elves are copyrighted. Maybe.
Why do I have the urge to give you a sock?
All right. The party, I presume, returns to the surface. Potentially mission accomplished. So, Wampy, you no longer have access to your private tutor of Sapper. Sapper doesn't actually know any druidic magic. That was all properties of the staff. You do still have the staff. Miss Maybell might want it back, but she doesn't actually know how to use it the way you do. The properties that the Sappers would have taught you are actually properties of the staff that you can learn to cast through the staff.
All right. I want Wampy to actually talk to the druid on the way back. It just mentioned that the staff was teaching Wampy the basics of channeling druidic magic in nature, and if they know somebody who might be willing to take an understudy, that Wampy would appreciate it.
She immediately begins trying to recruit you to her own druidic order. The Inuites worship the moon Inui, and they acknowledge that currently the creature called the Moon King is currently in control of the Moon Inui, and therefore they kind of quasi-worship the Moon King, or at least they ask the Moon King to grant them their spells and blessings. They do say that their primary sort of philosophy is that of a balance and a union between the natural world and the people that dwell within it. That they, unlike wild druids that are purely interested in nature and the reclamation of the land from industrialization, the Inuits consider cities and their inhabitants to be their own kind of nature. So this is in contrast to some of the other druid orders out there. It says, I do understand if you find ours to be very different from what you want, you might consider speaking with the Lunites, who worship the more distant moon of Lune, that is more about nature and healing and such. I would avoid the Somnites, as they have become incredibly violent since the moon Somnus crashed into the planet. And but there's also a sect just north of the city that is not of the sky at all. They worship the ground and the plants and the trees, and they are they're good people. They've actually done a lot of good work. A lot of good healers come from there. But if you really want to, study the intersection, the union of civilization and nature, you should come and study with us on the moon.
I hate to say that's actually what Whoppy would be most interested in, probably, like, deep down. Whoppy will just nod and say, Whoppy will think about it. But thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Whoppy. This has been very educational to see my master's work so closely. Did anyone else want to do any final things before you guys return back to the orphanage?
This has been a lot of excitement for Trumpy, so,
Did Cam get a lot of notes? I wouldn't mind looking over those at a later time,
Alrighty. Gorham is beaming with pride when he returns with all of the children intact. And Miss Mabel was about to just scold him a second time when she sees how much damage he suffered. And so she softens a little bit and is like, alright, come in. It looks like all the healing was done, but you can still see the scars where he took some pretty bad hits. He took 3 bad hits, actually. If there hadn't been a high-level druid on hand, there would be no more Gorham.
Yeah, I'll explain my bravery to Miss Mabel. That try to help him best I could. And somehow I accidentally blinked 2 people at once, which saved us.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. And Gorham is really thankful for that. It's like, if you had pulled out without me, I would have been dead. Because it caught in that corridor, I would have had nowhere to brace myself and nowhere to fly. My head would have hit the ceiling, and that'd be it. No druid could bring me back from that. Not sure how you did it, kid, but thank you. The Lich, on the other hand, has some theories, and would like to study the way you cast the spell.
Sure. Also, I can't let you die. Who else am I going to make fun of as I punch him in his sore arm?
He chuckles, and your relationship has upgraded from rivalry to whatever that in-between state is called. grudging
Frenemies?
respect.
Frenemies?
Frenemies, yes. That's the word I was looking for. For Francis, this lich has provided you with a lot of information to bring back to your study group. And over the course of the evening, while indulging in social time with Miss Mabel and the other adults, you are able to ask enough questions of the Lich to add some pretty significant things, including some spells. So you have an animate spell that can animate small corpses, like small animals and things, rats, fish, that sort of thing. And also a lot of anatomical knowledge on how to start down the road of animation.
Excellent.
I'm gonna get all that added into your private club notes for next time.
So would the bones of a troll hand be considered a small creature?
No. So the spell that he is going to teach you is a first circle spell. It's one of the really basic ones. And the reason it works at such a low circle is that it uses the ligaments, musculature, tendons, and all that already exist in a non-defiled corpse. If it's just bones, then you need magic to do all the movement. You can't just use the muscles. So that's a somewhat more advanced spell. He does know those spells, and he can talk to you a lot about how they work and how they use the natural decay energy that pulls negative energy aether out of the negative material plane, and how they basically set up these little magical windmills that let the natural pull of that decay power the spells to create continuous energy for motion and control and stuff. It's really like second, third circle stuff is when they start to get into that, so you're not quite ready for it, but the information exists, and you have the sort of ground road to get into that. But the first circle stuff where he's like, yeah, you can set up a really basic power system that just uses the existing muscles in a recently dead creature to make it do all the movements it normally would have done. And he sort of shows you how those spells are put together and how to cast them. And how to modify them for different types of creatures and stuff.
Nice.
Man, you could be the coolest kid in your necromancer gang.
Yeah. This is the first necromancer you've spoken to that does not talk about keeping things a secret from people. He seems to be like a truly out and proud necromancer. Like, he doesn't care that people know he's a lich. It's irrelevant to him.
Well, like someone gonna go over and like try to smite him or something? Like, you know.
Most necromancers do literally have that concern because there is a group called the Mage Registry that does that. Now, the reason they do that is because there also are actual necromancers that raise undead armies to attack innocent people and cause problems. Yeah.
And like summon ghost boats and stuff.
I mean, necromancers aren't even the worst of the mages. They're mostly messing around with dead people. Like, evokers are dangerous.
Yeah. And the Mage Registry is not specifically targeting necromancers. They don't like any mages.
Diviners are dangerous. Evokers are super dangerous. There's a whole enclave of illusionists, scam artists. Those are dangerous.
Necromancers get a bad rap because they're icky. It's like lightning bolts and firebolts seem pretty clean compared to like messing around with corpses and the animated dead and defiling of people's graves, but the reality is that the fireballs cause way more property damage, way more loss of life. Yeah,
necromancers want to raise a family.
It's one of those societal prejudices.
Yeah. I always try like really like what the difference between summoning the ghost of like some fallen hero versus like raising up their corpse.
And one of the big differences is the cleanliness of it, right? Like a summoned ghost doesn't look horrid usually. I mean, there are exceptions, but usually they look like just a glowing version of the person who once was alive. Glowing and translucent, but it's a person. Whereas the corpse is all like, rotting flesh dripping off of bone, and it hits that instinctive part that makes people go, yuck. If the two of them are charging at you, the easier one to stop is the corpse. That ghost will go right through your weapons and rip your heart out. Straight through the back of your chest.
Most of the rest of the mages, especially elves, don't really like necromancers very much because it's just inefficient.
Anar always has that very weird way of looking at things.
Like, why would you animate a corpse when you could just animate a giant pile of rocks or something more useful, right? I mean, it's not like there's a lack of rocks, Like, it just seems like you're tying yourself to a lesser vessel,
It's like you animate a skeleton to put a sword in its hand to go stab somebody. It's like, why don't you just animate the sword?
Yeah. The most famous necromancer in Anar was the Damien Firehands guy who made the Petrash. And the Soul Stones, actually. He was also kind of responsible for part of that research, but, research.
Yeah, I mean, the Lich that you guys have been interacting with, like, his primary study of necromancy was for life extension when he was convinced that the entire world was destroyed and he was the only one left. And he, just wanted to keep himself going. So he built a phylactery so he could continue researching in his little bunker. 10,000 years later, somebody cracked open his bunker to look inside, and he found out that the world was not destroyed.
Anar is protected by a giant mithril kraken that just kind of hangs out around the island. That's necromancers doing. The elves don't really believe in raising the dead. I think it's just kind of a waste of time.
Is it an undead kraken?
I mean, technically, I guess. It's an animated kraken. So necromancers are involved in animating it, but there's no living parts attached to it.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the key difference, right? Is it's more of a golem than it is an animation, because there's no decaying flesh that's drawing in negative aether to power the spell. The spell itself is its own self-contained thing they built. It's not reliant on any natural forces. Necromancy kind of... It's like building a dam on a river and using the flow of the water to power your stuff, as opposed to building a coal power plant where it's not really a natural thing. You're bringing everything with you into it. That's what the normal mages are doing. So necromancy is, in some ways, a much more natural way of using the energies of the universe.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was kind of interested in being able to do, too, is communing with the dead. So, like, being able to talk to someone who's already passed.
Definitely in that wheelhouse.
Yeah, raising the dead is like a minor thing in the necromantic world, right? Like, because there's a whole negative energy kinetics guild in the East. They do a lot of that stuff. They actually serve a major part of the legal arm for investigating murders and things like that.
Yeah. Victims of murder get to testify in the trials of their murderers.
Yeah, they don't raise the dead so much because like minions isn't really their thing, but they do. It's just entropy basically. It's just decay and entropy. That's necromancy.
One of their main training things for new recruits too is that they put in hours of service offering grief counseling for the recently deceased, helping them deal with their conversion from being alive to being dead.
Nice.
It's an interesting society over there.
I think from a story perspective, an interesting reason why Francis is so obsessed with death, aside from the near-death experience, could just be that he's also an orphan and is still grappling with like his parents' death. Assuming that the triplets' parents died, I don't know what happened to them.
I think we kind of left that up in the air. I think they died of. I think we agreed that they died of one of the plagues, maybe.
I've been staying away from those stories because I want those to be left over as potential hooks for future stuff when these characters become adults, so that like that can be a hook that gets them into future adventures and stuff. So I definitely wanted to get all that information into these character sheets, but I didn't necessarily want to poke at that particular aspect of the characters yet. I want to leave some ground to cover in future stuff. This adventure is far from over, though, because now there's the mystery of what the hell were those actual mountain trolls doing down there that the wood troll kind of encountered randomly. So from that chance encounter, now there's a new mystery to be looked into, along with all the other crazy stuff that's happening in the city. And that I need to double check, but I think in like 2 or 3 days, some other events start triggering from one of the other campaigns we've run. So we'll take a look at that.
Is it the heist?
At some point here, the heist comes through town. Yeah. I need to go back and check my notes to see exactly which day it is.
We did spend a while on the road.
You did. So it was not like an immediate thing. But yeah, it will happen. They are synchronous things.
I figured we were after the heist because the mining cooperative was so like negative here.
Oh no, the mining cooperative did a lot of bad things before they left town. Actually, they're trying to get reinstated, is what's going on right now, because they want to get that shipment through the city. And they do have some. Not all of the mining cooperative people fled. Like, they did try to keep offices open here because the Petrish were threatening to compete with them. And they needed to have a presence to try and address that. But then somebody sabotaged the Petrish train that was delivering ore, and Delterra and a bunch of Orin and a bunch of other people had to go to Half Elven to deal with some stuff related to that, because some people in an underwater facility there were doing some very questionable research on unascended Petrish, I guess would be the best term for them. Petrish that hadn't been given their sentience yet, but were in kind of like a larval state, where they could become sentient if they were given the right metals. That whole facility got blown up and is on schedule to get blown up an additional time.
All that excellent money.
Alrighty, well, I think I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. That was a good session. We will, we'll pick up next week and find the next adventure that the kids are going to go on with some of these new options that are coming up.
Indeed.